So you think you can time the market? Well, let me tell you, I tried. And even after 8 years in real estate, I can't. Honestly, I don't think anyone can. I think you can get lucky with some very fortunate circumstances. But in my case, things were going downhill fast. And yes, I'm blaming the Bank of Canada, rising interest rates, and the government for that one. Hey everyone, it's Courtney Rufh, your Fraser Valley and South Delta Realtor. Today I'm getting a little personal. I'm sharing why I decided to sell my own investment condo, and it reminded me that even experienced realtors, myself included, can't time the market. This is something a lot of people don't realize until they're in the situation themselves. So whether you currently have tenants or you're thinking about buying an investment property, this video is going to be an eye-opener. So a little backstory. I had an investment condo that I owned for a few years. Actually, it was the first home I ever bought. And initially, it was just supposed to be my home. I did a few upgrades, brightened up the space, and made it my own because I lived there, wanted to love the space. Then, of course, life happened. I moved in with my boyfriend literally after a year of living in my condo. So I decided to rent it out. I was going to play the long game. At that time, the market hadn't really moved. Prices had actually dropped a little bit. Things were slower. So I figured I'd hold on to it, rent it out, and let some equity build. Fast forward 2 years, 2 different tenants, both only staying for a year each. By that time, I tried renting it out a third time, and things had changed drastically. The rental market had actually gone down as well. Things were slower. Inquiries were few and far between. I don't even think I had any. And again, market rates had dipped. Now, before anyone calls me a slumlord, I wasn't even breaking even. I had a variable rate mortgage, so my payments had gone up as interest rates climbed, add strata fees, home insurance, and property taxes. I was already short about $350 a month, and with the way current rental rates were, I would be essentially $500 cash flow negative every single month for a home that was not exactly building equity at the time. So I had a big decision to make. Do I rent it out again and hope the market rebounds, or sell it while it's vacant? Honestly, the decision came down to 2 simple things. 1, the market wasn't showing any signs of improving soon. And 2, it's just not easy to sell a tenanted property. So I figured no better time than now. Now, here's what a lot of people don't realize. If you have a tenant living in your property, your investment property, you can't just evict them because you've decided to sell. There are laws in place to protect tenants from these types of things. The only time a tenant can be given notice is if the buyer who purchases the property plans to move in and occupy it. In that case, the buyer gives notice to the seller, and then the seller gives notice to the tenant, and that notice must be 3 full months before they get possession. If the buyer is another investor who wants to keep the tenant, then nothing changes. But here's the thing, investors aren't really buying right now. And even if they were, they have to assume the existing tenancy at the same rent. They can't buy the place, evict the current tenant, and then re-rent it for more rent. The tenant that got evicted can actually sue for up to 12 months of rent if someone does that. So if your tenant gives you notice that they're leaving, that's your window to sell vacant. Now, disclaimer, not all tenants are difficult. I've had some great ones and I'm very fortunate for that. But when you're selling, there's just no incentive for them to make the process easier. Showings become tricky. You have to give at least 24 hours notice, and even then they might not accommodate the showing. They don't have to tidy up, light candles, or make sure the place smells great. And honestly, why would they? They're the ones potentially being displaced. And even with good tenants, there's still wear and tear, and that show home ready feel is just gone. Unless you have an amazing tenant who treats it like their own. That's rare. I had one, but she left me, and I'm very sad about that. There's also the big issue, vacant possession. Buyers know that with a tenanted property, they won't be moving in for 3, sometimes up to 4 months after firming up on the deal. And in a slower market with lots of inventory, buyers almost always pick something that's vacant or owner occupied. It's less waiting and less stress. Selling honestly wasn't even on my radar, but when my tenant moved out, I thought, this is my shot. The market is slow, inventory was high, prices were down, and we were heading into the fall, so it's not exactly the dream time to list. But having it vacant meant we could stage it beautifully, show it anytime, and make a great first impression. And honestly, that was the best my place was ever going to look. And this is something that I preach to my clients all the time. So if your tenant gives notice and you're even thinking about selling, that's your moment. Once a new tenant moves in, you're locked in again for the duration of that tenancy, and you're creating more hurdles for both yourself and your future buyer. And here's what I've noticed lately. In the last 2 years, I haven't had a single tenanted listing sell to another investor. Every single buyer planned to move in themselves. With interest rates and rental rates where they are right now, it's just not a super lucrative time for investors to pick up rental properties. So if you list the home with a tenant in place, you might be cutting out a massive part of your buyer pool right from the start. So at the end of the day, selling while vacant gives you way more flexibility, more showings, better presentation, and fewer buyer hesitations. So if you're holding on to an investment property and your tenant gives notice, take that as your opportunity. It might feel like a hassle in the short term, but it'll save you a lot of stress later. And so back to my comment about timing the market. Although I didn't necessarily get the price I wanted because I had to sell for less than I bought it for, I took a small hit, and that's life. Timing just wasn't in my favor, and I just decided to take advantage of the opportunity that was in front of me. I kind of believe that everything happens for a reason. My tenant moved out. As much as I'm going to miss having her there, I just figured I'm not going to have a tenant as perfect as that one. And so ultimately I decided to just sell and take a bit of a hit, a bit of a gut punch, but that's life. And I'm sure if I waited and there was no guarantee the market was going to rebound to a price that I felt was realistic to make on this place. So it is what it is. If you're thinking about selling your tenanted property or you're unsure what your best move is, reach out. I'm always happy to walk through your options, discuss personal experiences, and what my previous clients have done, whether that's renting again, selling, or waiting for the right timing. And again, we can't always guarantee that part. And if you found the video helpful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more real estate tips, and I'll see you in the next one.